Salakia, who's on mute. Okay, the water for that smoke. Hey, Shalom smoke and safe travels to you, fam. Yes, sir. All praises, sis. Yahweh Shem Yashabakatah, walk the water. All praises. Your continued support is much appreciated. Ahabatah, sis. Ahabatah. All praises. I see the family piling up in here. I'm gonna give y'all a couple more minutes, right? But in the meantime, let's get this topic up here. All right. Share this title. All right. Y'all see the title? Okay. Matter of fact, let me put it full screen. There we go. Full screen. Marinate on that. Zion, Shalom, fam. Hey, Gamal. Right. I see my people's coming up in here. All right. I'm gonna let y'all marinate on this title for a couple minutes. I want y'all to like, share, comment. Let's get this thing spread out, man. This is an important one. Every piece of the word is important, but this is a good one right here. All right. And as y'all know, if you look in the description, you can see the link for the actual slideshow that we're using. All right. And I'm gonna go ahead and post a link. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and post a link in the chat. All right, much because y'all see it, all right? Couch that Captivity created, episode 138, biblical fundamentals. Okay, back to the basics. And the topic is Apostle Paul and the Gentiles. Okay, that's a topic that gets, how should I say, misconstrued a lot, right? About Paul's ethnicity, about who the Gentiles are. So we're going to take it down to the basics, to the fundamentals, and get you some fundamental arguments that you can build on. All right. So y'all hold tight. Give me 2 minutes. I'm going to prepare a couple things. But in the meantime, like I said, like, share, comment, right? All that helps in the algorithm. Let's get this out there. All right. All right, family. I see we got the room filling up. I see we got our regular peeps up in here. All right. So hold on. One question. Zion, what was your screen name before? I think I remember that you changed it this, but did you have another screen name before? Con, right? That's what I thought, fam. Hey, I just talked to your folks and found out who your folks was, man. You should have been pull up, cuz. You family, man. You should have been pull up, King. You know what I'm saying? You always welcome. We always welcome, family. Ain't never a bother. This is what we here for. This is what we do, man. Pull up, hit us up, man. This is what we do. All praises, though. I just found that out, though, but all praises. We've been linked up through the class, but man, pull up, man. Come build with us, you know what I'm saying, on that corner. You feel me? Right? All praises, King. All praises. Hey, I like that name too, right? That's a powerful name, Zion. That character, the Zion, the Z character, right? That's a powerful character because it could be shaped as a harvesting tool, right? For a farmer or for tending to your vineyards, or it could be fashioned into a weapon, right? It's a powerful name. All praises. We gonna get this kicking off. All right. Now, as per usual, I'm gonna start this thing off with a little historical perspective, right? We're gonna get into that. So you see the title, Apostle Paul and the Gentiles, and we know what the overarching consensus is amongst Christians, right? They like to run to Paul, and they like to associate the Gentiles with the heathens, but through the Spirit of the Most High God, right? We've got the understanding that that's not the case. And here we're gonna lay some historical, what do you call it? Historical precedents, right, to go along with some scripture. Okay, and one of the first things, this an extra little gem I got for y'all today. Okay, if you look at that image, okay, if you look at that image, Hellenistic Civilization and the Jews by Victor Sharakover, go ahead and click on that. You know what I'm saying? It might just lead you to a PDF that I got on my Google Drive, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and click on there. Throw some ones if you find something when you click on it. See what I'm saying? You feel me? Let me know. Throw a one if you see something good when you click on that image. You know what I'm saying? Because allegedly it might be a PDF of that. You know what I'm saying? Let me know what the dealio is. All right. But yeah, so we're going to talk about the Hellenization of the Jews, right? And it's got to do a lot with the diaspora at the time and the migrations and where people were moving to or forced out to or exiled to, carried away to. It was an overall Greek occupation, right? This was an occupation. We were in captivity, and the known Greek world was pretty expansive. Not quite as expansive as the Roman Empire, but it was fairly expansive, right? All out. It was into Egypt, Asia Minor, right? Of course, all throughout the Levant, so on and so forth, was the known Greek world. We're going to get into that. Okay. So if you have the ability to follow along, go ahead. Like I said, I put a link already to this PDF in the chat. Okay. Just scroll up a couple chats, you'll see it. That's the link to this slideshow. And in this slideshow, right, if you go to slide number 2 and you click on this image, you know what I'm saying, you'll be able to follow along with this lesson. All right. You will be able to follow along. So this is what I want to do. All right. All praises, Smoke. This is what I want to do. I want to give y'all a couple minutes to go ahead and, you know what I'm saying, click on that link, get your special extracurricular study material, right, as a bonus for showing up to class. All praises, right? Hey, Ayan DeBar, Smoke. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go ahead and give y'all a couple minutes to click on that book, because it'll be more beneficial if you can follow along while I'm reading a couple of things. I'm not gonna go too far into detail into that book, but that's a little golden nugget that y'all could take with you. And like I said, at your own leisure, delve into some layers, right? But we covering the fundamentals right here, the basic fundamentals. Okay. So I'm gonna give y'all a minute or two to go ahead and tap into that. All right. Click that link, get the PDF, whether it's on your phone or you save it on your desktop, and just throw me a couple ones up there once you get it. All right. I'm gonna give y'all a couple minutes for that. All praise, all praise. I see a couple ones in there. So look, we're gonna get it cracking. Okay. Now, for those of y'all that already went and, you know what I'm saying, took advantage of that opportunity to follow along, you can do so. But what I'm gonna do right now is we're gonna talk about the Hellenization of the Jews. Okay. What does that mean? The Hellenistic period was, you know, if you ever heard of, you know, Greco-Roman mythology, Greek mythology, the Queen of Helen and this and that, that's an entire period of, you know, the Greek culture, the Hellenistic period. And the Hellenization means converting other cultures into the Greek culture, right? That means language, the way you dress, your custom, the laws you follow, right? This is the first, Alexander was amongst one of the first people to implement such a rule, right? In all the other captivities that the Hebrews had, no one ever mandated that the Hebrews, that the Israelites, what do you call that, conform to the lingua franca or to the culture of their captors. Alexander was one of the first to do this, and it carried on throughout the Greek world. Hence the term Hellenization, right? We're going to go into that. So if you're following along on the PDF, right, we're going to go to page 287. Page 287, and mind you, it's numbered slightly different if you just follow the page numbers per se, because there's like, you know, table of contents and prologue and all that, but the actual on the book, page 287, okay? And the title is Political History, right? And it just gives you some brief. It says Jewish inhabitants of Egypt proves convincingly that their number was really large and that their influence was felt in the various branches of the public life of the kingdom. It was possible to live at peace with the Jews or to oppose them, but it was impossible to close one's eyes to them or to leave them out of account, right? So of course we were in Egypt, right? This is just outside of Jerusalem. Jews had already spread into Egypt, right? Alexandria, to be precise, was one of the capital cities there. It was a big city for trade, right? It was right on the Mediterranean coast, so it was a popular crossroads. Okay, a more or less complete account of the Jewish diaspora can be rendered in respect of Egypt alone. As to the other countries, we must content ourselves with brief and isolated items of information preserved by chance in contemporary writings or discovered in excavations, meaning it's not quite as evident as you spread out in search of the diaspora, right, beyond Egypt. But there are, you know what I'm saying, there are historical clues in archaeology and in oral traditions, or even things that are written down by different different people of those eras and of those places, right? All right, it says most of the information belongs to the Roman period, and we shall only use such part of it as derived from the Upper Empire, not latter than the end of the 1st century CE, right? Here we go. The first report on the Jews in Asia Minor belongs in the middle of the 4th century BCE, right? Which is on record according to Clericus, which is a pupil of Aristotle. And we all in school, I'm sure you've heard of Aristotle, right? Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, all these really notable Greek, you know, what do you want to call them, philosophers or historians, right? He relates that this matter, when he was in Asia Minor, which, like you said, 4th century BC, 347 and 345, met a Jew who had come to the seashore from the mountainous regions, right? And was a Greek not only in speech, but also in spirit. Now that's crucial. That's crucial. Let's get into that, right? Because, you know, 4th century BC, man. And what is Asia Minor? Asia Minor extends, it's like the bridge between what you would call the Middle East or the Levant and Europe, right? You would have Turkey, Greece, right? And then spreading on up into, you know, what would have been ancient Mesopotamia, going all up into the, you know, the south of Europe, and then connecting with Asia. So that's Asia Minor, Turkey. Okay. Who can name me a notable Jew in the Bible that was born in what is called modern day Turkey? Pop quiz. Name me a notable Jew in the Bible that born in what is called modern day Turkey. Pop quiz. Okay. And while I'm waiting on that trivia, let's go ahead and get Tobit chapter 13, right? Tobit, because I want to read, and this is in the Apocrypha, but I just want to read some accounts that, you know, back up these what you want to call secular or, you know, non-religious writings, right? Because of course Victor Sherakova is you know, he's no priest, but he's writing about historical accounts, right? And some of the accounts will come from, you know, Socrates and Aristotle's pupils, you know, like highly notable secular and even heathen accounts that are talking about the Jews. But if we go to Tobit, we just read, right? Let's backtrack here. We just read, right, that a pupil of Aristotle was in Asia Minor between the years of 347 and 345 BC. That's 4th century BC, right? 4th century BC. And he noted that he met a Jew who had come to the seashore from the mountainous regions and was a Greek, not only in speech, but also in spirit, meaning he followed the ways of the Greeks. Now, if we go to Tobit, right, Tobit is already telling them, and mind you, the book of Tobit is dated to be written, you know, late 3rd century BC, right? So that lets you know that the Gentiles that he's speaking of here, right? He says, confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he has scattered us among them. The children of Israel that are scattered amongst these Gentiles in the areas that Tobit is talking about, we're talking about 3rd century BC already, right? So we know it stretches as far as what we're talking about in this book, right? Asia Minor. And let me go back. Let's go back here, right? Let me check on my trivia. Let's see who's sharp in it. Ah, okay. Hey, Smoke beat him to the punch, right? Ali Ashai got it too. Okay. But Smoke beat him to the punch. Quick on the draw, Smoke. Hey, Paul of Cilicia, right? And then even more precise, Ali Ashai, Paul of Tarsus, right? Tarsus and Cilicia will be a region or a city in Tarsus, right? Inside Turkey. And let's see where that's at. Let's get a look on the map here. Where will we find that? 1 second. All right, I'm gonna pull that up on a map. Okay. Right here. Let's take a look. Okay. Tarsus, Turkey, right? Let's look and see what that says. According to the Acts of the Apostles, Saul, Paul's Jewish name, in Acts 13:9, was born in a Roman city in Tarsus in Cilicia, right? Ancient Asia Minor, modern Turkey. And just to give y'all a visual, okay, we're gonna go to the map. I just wanna keep y'all keep this in mind for reference. Okay, let's close that down. All right, Turkey. And let me go back. There we go. Tarsus in Turkey. You see where it's at. Okay. So, and we know Paul is you know, at the end of the 1st century, going in end of the BC era, going into the Common Era, right? Because Paul was around after Christ. So he was around 1st century in the Common Era or BCE. So that lets you know that well before Paul, there was generations, hundreds of years of Jews all throughout this area, through what is known as modern day Greece, right? All throughout Asia Minor. See what I'm saying? Persia. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that because look, we read Tobit 13:3, right? Now let's turn to page 292 on this same document. Okay. Flip down to page 292. And mind you, it's the actual page 292 noted in the bottom corner of the PDF, right? Okay. So 292. What does that say? Right? It mentions Salakia. Jews were dispersed over the entire Greek world. Okay, and let's find this quote in here. Okay, right here, first paragraph. And mind you, this is page 292 on the PDF of Hellenistic civilization and the Jews. It says, thus, in the course of the Hellenistic period, the Jews became dispersed over the whole Greek world. As early as 140, the Common Era, or 140 BC, before the Common Era, BC, right? Approximately, as early as 140 BCE, approximately, the offer of Sibylline oracles testifies that the whole land and sea are full of Jews, right? So we go back and look at this map, right? He's saying in Asia Minor, there's Jews everywhere, land and sea, right? Land and sea, all through here, okay? Just take note of that, okay? You got Turkey, right? Greece, Azerbaijan, Iran, okay? Even up into the stands, right? So now let's take a further look. Let's take it further. Let's go to the next page on this slide, okay? And let's go back into some biblical references. Now, who in here has heard of Antiochus IV Epiphanes? Just curious in the chat. Throw up a 1 if you've heard of this man. Antiochus IV, aka Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay, let's just go into it real quick to give you some historical context. Okay, he comes from a long line of tyrants. All right, so if we go here, right, the Seleucid Empire. I just it's a simple Wikipedia, right? I just typed in Antiochus, right? So it says Antiochus is a Greek male first name, which was a dynastic name for rulers of the Seleucid Empire and the kingdom of Commagene in Jewish historical memory, connected with the Maccabean revolt and the holiday of Hanukkah. Antiochus refers specifically to Antiochus IV Epiphanes. And why is this significant? Because let's look at the era. Okay, you've got different the namesake Antiochus, right? Father of Seleucus, right? Which is 4th century BC, which is the era when the Jews, we were talking about in this book. And you got Soter, Theos, Hyrax, Antiochus III the Great. And then here we go into Epiphanes. And if you look at the time frame, 164 BC, this is crucial because the Maccabean period is right around this time frame. So when we go into stories about the Maccabees, right, which let's do that. Okay, first Maccabees. I'm gonna read primarily First Maccabees chapter 1 and 42 to 51, right? But I'm gonna start just for reference, I think around 15. Right? Okay. Remember in this book, right, in the EPUB earlier, it said that he met a Jew, not only in name and language, but in spirit, right? The man was a Jew, not only in language, but also in spirit. You see what I'm saying? Where do we see that? Right here. From the mountainous region, and Arslaki, he was a Greek, not only in speech, but also in spirit. Where does that come from? It comes from the Maccabean period and the time of Antiochus Epiphanes, who was sending out mandates and decrees that everyone had to follow the Greek customs and were not allowed to follow their Hebrew customs and keep Torah and keep the high holy days and the feast. So we'll go to First Maccabees chapter 1. We'll start at verse 15. Right? And made themselves uncircumcised, and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were so sold to do mischief. Right? Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have dominion of 2 realms. Right? So yeah, Antiochus, right? He was all about conquering and expanding his empire. Okay. And that was part of that was taking over the Egyptian empire. Hence, following up on what Alexander did, that's why Alexandria in Egypt is named after Alexander. Okay. So let's go down some more. Let's go to 42. This is where we get into the meat of things, right? First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 42. And keep in mind, right, we're talking about Antiochus Epiphanes. And right, like if you want, you can click on this and you can see this picture. And you can, the other link I put in here, I don't know if I put it on the PDF, but yeah, if you just do a Google search of Antiochus and look at Wikipedia, you'll see the whole Seleucid Empire. Okay. And I wanted to show you this image because look, he's an Edomite. All right. But we know we had melanated Jews from the Southern Kingdom primarily all throughout Asia Minor as early as 4th century BC, and documented historically and also scripturally. Okay. Tobit, the Maccabees, these are all historically verified accounts in the Bible. Okay. Look at this Edomite. All right. So let's go to First Maccabees. And right here, start at 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote this to his whole kingdom, that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws, so that all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. Man, he knew what he was doing. He knew, just like his forefathers knew, they would sit there and watch us, and they knew that how we observed, our feast days and how we observed the Sabbath and where our strength came from. They knew that if the Most High was with us, no man could go against us. So what is their strategy going forward? Is to get us to go off. They noticed the only time Israel, let's say it like this. When Israel is behaving according to the Most High's will, and the Most High is with Israel, we as a nation are impregnable. Okay. Chief used this word the other night, right? I figure I'll bring it up because it reminded me of the old days with Mike Tyson using, big words, right? Impregnable. That means just fortified, sturdy, impenetrable, right? No one could go up against Israel when the Most High is with Israel. And when Israel is doing the Most High's will, the Most High is with us. Vice versa. If ye hearken not unto all that is commanded of you, then here comes the heathen to put you in captivity into the Greeks, right? Okay. And Antiochus wanted to make sure brothers were going off. He made it a decree. Okay. They set up altars, groves, and chapels of idols, and sacrificed swine flesh and unclean beasts, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised. This is one of the rudimentary covenants. Circumcision of every man 8 days old. Okay. And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. Right? Look at this. This is what you call a famine of the word. Right? And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. In the same self manner, he wrote to his whole kingdom and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice, city by city. Then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. Right? And look, this goes on, but this is important stuff to read, right? This is historical. Okay, this is historical. The Maccabean revolt, and we know the Maccabean revolts lasted, I want to say, 167 BC all the way up into 160 BC in that area, which overlaps directly with Antiochus Epiphanes, right? And you see what Antiochus was doing, and then we understand how Judah Maccabees and the Maccabeans in particular was trying to counteract that, right? And we know that they quoted in here Hanukkah, right? Where did I get that? Right? Okay, they quoted in here in reference to Antiochus, the Maccabean revolt, and the holiday of Hanukkah, which we also know as the Feast of Dedications, right? The Festival of Lights, right? Where the temple was rededicated because the Maccabees were able to overtake the Greeks and restore the temple. Okay, but the Greeks had went in there and profaned the altars, made a sacrifice abomination on the altars and profaned the altar. And that's one of the main things the Maccabees had to do during what led up to the celebration of the Feast of Dedication, is they had to reestablish the altar. So what the Maccabees decided to do was to take the stones and the remnants of the altar and place it in a place far away, you know, from where the tabernacle was, right? And then bring in priests and rebuild an appropriate altar so that sacrifices could be made that weren't profane, because people were going off. Okay. And we know stories in all throughout the Maccabees, even in Second Esdras, there's some stories, about people like Eleazar, right, that refuse to bow down to the will of the Greek rulers and refuse to go against the Most High's commandments unto death. They refuse. Okay, we know the story about the woman with the 7 sons, and her 7 sons were tortured and brutalized and murdered right in front of her one by one. But she said, look, you could take my own flesh and blood sons from me. I will not turn my back on the Most High, right? So we always had Jews that held it down, but by the droves, Israel, we had brothers that was buckling under that pressure right here. You see what I'm saying? Where it says, right? They set up altars and groves and chapels, idols, sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. See what I'm saying? So this is what was going on as early as, the Maccabean period was 2nd century BC, Antiochus, late 3rd century BC, early 2nd century BC, right? But then even further back, we know Jews had already started wandering out that far and losing touch with who they were. Hence, you ask, well, how was Paul born in Turkey? Look, by the time Paul was born, which was right at the crux between AD and BC, right? Because he was around shortly after the time, he was around during the time of Christ, but the stories and Acts take place, you know what I'm saying, shortly after, Christ's death, burial, and resurrection. Okay, especially I think Paul is introduced at the end of chapter 6, maybe 7, as Saul, when he's witnessing Stephen being stoned, right? And then really in chapter 8, I think he comes in, and we're going to go over that. But if we go back to, let's go to Acts chapter 13. And I just want to make this point, right? Acts 13, because we're talking about Antiochus. Okay. Just to wrap this historical precedent up. Okay. Just so we're clear here. Okay. Right here, if you notice, we're talking about Antiochus, right? And we talked about him in the Maccabees, and we talked about his whole bloodline, right? The Greek captivity, the Seleucid Empire was dominated by the Antiochus line, or the Antiochus namesake, right? This is Antiochus the fourth, Epiphanes, who's circa the Maccabean period. Okay, his reign overlaps the Maccabees side by side in history. Now, if we go all the way forward to Acts 13, which would be first century AD, or first century in the Common Era, okay, in the time where Paul is around, what do we see? And this is, you might not catch it right away, but if you just do a little bit of mental etymology, right? Let's read Acts 13:1. Now there were in a church that was at Antioch, right, certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul. Okay, right. So we see here there's also another Hebrew Israelite that was childhood friends with Herod the Tetrarch, right? And we know that Herod the Tetrarch was one of the prominent Roman empires, right, or dynasties. Okay, the Herodian dynasty. So we see the overlap, because the Greek and the Roman cultures were virtually indistinguishable, except for the fact that it was white on white crime, right? One group of Edomites figured they was better than the other group, and it basically absorbed each other, right? But it was just a power struggle. And even when the Roman Empire came into play, you see how it was some seasons only lasted a couple months before they were poisoned or murked, or it was some kind of overthrow, right? It was very unstable. But I want to show you, going all the way up into the Herodian period, right? There's a city named after the Antiochus namesake, Antioch, right? Or Antioch, depending on how you want to pronounce this thing, right? But this is an example of etymology, right? So Antiochus was the namesake. The dynasty of the Seleucid dynasty was dominated by the Antiochus namesake, and therefore that region where their seat was called Antioch. And we see the first example, right? This was one of Paul's first missionary journeys. Okay, so that gets us up to speed into the Common Era. And now we'll talk about the Apostle Paul and some of his trips. So we'll stay in Acts 13 and go down to 9. Acts 13:9. Then Saul, who is also called Paul, filled with the Holy Ghost, set his eyes on him and said, O full of all subtlety and all mischief, thou child of the devil, thou enemy of all righteousness, wilt thou not cease to pervert the right ways of the Lord? Right? He's rebuking people. So you see out here, Paul has been, you know what I'm saying? He's been granted, right? He's been ordained to go out and prophesy. He's filled with the Holy Spirit. Now, we know how Saul was before the road to Damascus, but this is just an example that Antioch was one of his first proving grounds. They sent Paul out to the belly of the beast, right? You got sorcerers there, right? Brothers is out there wilding. And remember what the book said, the little publication, it says, and was Greek, not only in speech, but also in spirit, right? Brothers was out there wilding, man. I'm talking about wilding out there, false prophets, right? Out there, you know what I'm saying? In Cyprus and Seleucia. Okay. That's another bit of etymology. The Seleucid dynasty, Seleucia. Okay. And they were all in the synagogues out there fornicating, being false prophets, right? And that's why these disciples, that's why these brothers had to go out there and basically exercise a lot of these brothers, man, and speak this word, man, and burn some of them demons out of these people, because you got buddy out there being a sorcerer, right? You see what I'm saying? And that's why they were met with a lot of contention as they went into these areas, because you got to realize, for centuries, generation upon generation upon generation, Jews have been spread out here, and they got so far away from where they were that they didn't even speak the language. They didn't keep the laws. And in fact, they start worshiping Jupiter and Saturn and all these Greco-Roman gods. So you see the importance of the apostles and the importance of Yahweh Shai giving the edict for brothers now to go outside of Jerusalem, because he had them stay there until a certain time when he departed and the Most High sent the Comforter, which is the Holy Spirit. And when the Holy Spirit was dealing with these brothers, then they was able to go out and conquer these demons. Now that's a prime example. And keep in mind, just as a little, like I said, I'm trying to give y'all as many little, bonuses as possible with each of these PDFs. If you're looking right now on this PDF, right? I believe we're on the 4th page. Where are we at? Okay, it's the page with the map. You go to the page with the map, click on the map. Okay, you can get you a full-size image of this map, right? And it'll show you, it's got a little legend, map of Paul's missionary journeys. Paul's first journey in blue. Where did we see that go? Antioch. Okay. And then, of course, look at Cappadocia and Cilicia, Tarsus. Look, this is Paul's homeland. Okay. This is Paul's homeland. Paul is everywhere, man. Cyprus, right? He all in the islands, Pamphylia, Lycia. Okay. Man, he went all through Philippi and Macedonia, right? Rome, Malta, island of barbarians, Crete. Okay, just look at this map, study his journey to get an idea of what these brothers were doing, man, what kind of work they was putting in. Okay. And now your bargain basement Christian is going to swear up and down that Paul is, he's the apostle to the Gentiles. Who do you think Paul was going out there to preach to? Right? It's no secret. Confess him before the Gentiles, you children of Israel, for he has scattered us among them. It was no secret that these brothers were scattered. Paul was from way out there. Okay. We know we have brothers in Philippi and Macedonia, Thessalonica, right? Let's look at some of these names. Thessalonica, Thessalonians. Okay. The book he wrote, Rome, the Romans. Okay. Look, Sparta, Athens. Okay. Smyrna. You got Ephesus, the Ephesians, right? So look at this map, study the little legend. And like I said, you just click on it and it'll give you the full image. But study the legend and then read the book of Acts. And as a matter of fact, just as a little study aid for you, okay, if you go back through If you go back through the LBC WOLFPAC channel, in fact, I'll make it easy for you. Let's look it up right now. Let's do that. Okay, because I did a series on the book of Acts, and it's crucial that you understand the chronology of what's going on in Acts. Okay, the chronology, because Acts is actually in a timeline. It's a chronological timeline throughout the book of Acts. All the books of Acts, the Acts of the Apostles. So if you go back through, okay, I'm going through some old school here. Where are we at? Go back through to number, okay, here we go. Starting at the couch captivity created number 95. Okay. We went through a 4-part series as a camp, and we read 7 chapters at a time and discussed it. And then we made notes and took notes and compared everybody's notes. And then we came together, and then I condensed everything into like an hour-and-a-half class or 2 hours. Each one of them was well over 2 hours, right? But this is based on an exercise we did as a camp of really delving into the book of Acts of the Apostles, all 28 books, so that we can get a better understanding of when what epistle was written, where it was written from, what people it was talking about, who, what timeline in reference to when, right? What came first, the chicken or the egg, right? You have to understand these things. So what I'm gonna do right here, just as a, as a matter of a study tool, share, come on, okay? Just as a study tool, I'm gonna go ahead and let me get that off the screen. I'm gonna go ahead, Salakia. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and post this in the chat. Okay. Salakia. I'm gonna post this in the chat. Okay. Acts of the Apostles. Couch Captivity series. All right. And I'm gonna go ahead and post it. Okay, this is the first one. That's the first in the series. And number 2. Because this is important historical information to get the understanding and the sense of where everything is and how everything relates and why Paul was talking like this at this point. By the end of this point, he was talking a little different. You just got to put things in perspective. That's all. You got to put things in perspective. And when you understand the historical timeline, it's real simple. Okay. Once you understand the historical timeline, it's real simple. Okay. It's number 2, so on and so forth. Right. I'm just going to post 1 and 2 for now. If you can find 1 and 2, you'll find all of them. Okay. But that's an example of us going in depth throughout the book of Acts, right? Because we know for a fact that in Acts 13, when Paul was in Antioch, he was very green, right? He was fresh off the road to Damascus. Brothers really ain't even trust him yet. They sent him out to the belly of the beast to test his will, test his fortitude, right? They sent him out to the hottest set. It's like, all right, if the spirit is with you, nigga, we'll see you when you get back, right? So he came back, and them brothers were like, all right, the spirit dealing with you, right? And so they sent him on more missions and more missions. But let's go to Acts 21 and 39. Let's see a later evolution of Paul. Let's go there. Let's go to Acts 21. Acts 21. Okay. And Paul let you know where he was from by this time. Okay. And look, let's go up a little bit. Okay. And in 20, okay, right here, it says 18. And the day following, Slakia, Acts 21 and 18. And the day following, Paul went in with us unto James, right? We know James, the brother of Christ, second in command under Peter, the rock of the church, right? And all the elders were present. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things God had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry, right? So we've already clarified why these brothers are being referred to as Gentiles, because they were Greeks not only in name, in location, but in spirit and in speech, okay? And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law, right? These brothers is just coming back from their trip amongst the Gentiles. But we understand it where it's reiterated that how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law. Okay, so these brothers went out there and did work, right? They went out there and planted seeds. You see what I'm saying? Verse 21, and they are informed of thee, that thou teachest all the Jews which are amongst the Gentiles, right? Remember Tobit, all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, right? Paul is getting scolded. He getting G-checked. He getting G-checked. But what happens in this chapter? We know, right? I'm not gonna go into any heavy breakdown on Acts 21. I'm gonna keep it to the basics, right? Right? You see what I'm saying? Hey, there you go, Gamal. They had to test his gangster, man. They sent him out there in a rough set, right? But even after he done passed the test and then went on some missions and it's proven, they still G-checking it. They're like, what we hear about this, man? You telling, you know what I'm saying? You telling these Gentiles that's out there, you know what I'm saying, coming back into this law that they can forsake Moses? Like, what's up? But we all know the story in Acts 21, right? And for those who don't, let's bring you up to speed, okay? For anyone who doesn't know Acts 21, and like I say all the time, at your leisure, please go back and review the materials more in depth, because I'm covering the basics and I'll expound on a couple things, but I'm not going into no heavy breakdowns or no heavy historical. This is a proactive class, meaning I'm giving you the materials, the study materials, right? The outline, or what you want to call the syllabus, and then you got to go eat, right? You got to go make your plate and get that bread, because one or two ways, like I said, I give you the link to previous lessons where we went over it in depth, right? And that's really how you get down with this understanding, right? You got to be proactive, and one of my soldiers that's excellent at that, right? Right, you're right. Shimmy Jane was tripping. He was set tripping on him. He was like, "What's up, homie? You know what I'm saying? You might have to pull up for a DP, my man. You feel me? Right?" But the little homie Shimmy, man, he's studious like that. You tell that brother something, and if he don't know, he'll be like, "Hold on, let me look it up." All right, that's how we got to be. That's why I don't want to just sit here for hours giving big breakdowns, because ain't nobody really gonna absorb all that anyway. And at the end of the day, that's laziness. Okay. So look, Acts 21, we all know Paul is getting G-check, and we know what he did, right? He went in there with them brothers that was just coming off a Nazirite vow, and he went in there and gave oblations and showed everyone that he is a Jew, right? And then just to top it all off, the difference between when Paul was writing the letter to the Galatians all the way to where he was writing letters of Rome, you see Paul evolve as a man of the Lord, right? You see his strengthening as a man of the Lord, his strengthening, his resolve strengthened. And how could it not, as much as he went through? See what I'm saying? And that's why he was ready when he will at his last days. He's like, look, man, they about to take me out, man. I ain't even tripping. Right. He wrote letters to Timothy, and he wrote letters to some of his mentees, some of the young men that he mentored, right? He's like, look, man, they about to take me out, but it's all good. Right? This is what you need to do. You feel me? Real triple OG type stuff. You feel me? But look, let's go to Romans 11:1. That's what I want to do. I want to go to Romans 11 just to put a pin in this, because this is what I want y'all to do. And this will prepare y'all for these wicked attacks from these Christians that don't know nothing about the Bible, let alone being able to back it up with history, archaeology, right? Secular accounts that were contemporaries to what was going on at the time, so on and so forth. You know, no longer can someone come up to you that, oh, I don't believe in the Bible. It's just made up stories. Oh, really? Well, read this story, and then let me go over here to the secular. Oh, you heard of Aristotle, right? They taught you that in school, right? You believe in Aristotle? You believe in Alexander the Greek? Okay. Well, look, boom, here it is in our book. Boom, here it is historically. Now what? You see, that's just an extra little weapon for you to be able to cross-reference things like that. Okay. But let's go to Romans 11. All right. For anyone that had any doubt, I mean, the man was born in Turkey, in Asia Minor. Okay. Then he called himself a Roman when he got cased up because he wanted to go to Caesar's court because the Jews were out to get him. Okay. Because you got to remember, he was a Pharisee. His father was a Pharisee. He probably came from a long line of Pharisees that were pretty high on society, right? The upper echelon of society. And for him to fall off his horse, literally and figuratively, right? Fall off his horse and then go down and start mobbing with the lowlifes, the non-free men, the bondmen amongst the Roman captivity. You got to imagine that the Pharisees looked down on him, right? They was hating on him big time. Okay. They was out to get him. So what he do? He claimed, well, I'm a Roman, right? So you got all kind of Christians with varying understandings of who Paul was and where he was from and who the Gentiles he went to go talk to. But without a shadow of a doubt, these people are Israelites. Okay. And look, Romans 1:11. This is Paul speaking. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid. Right? What are Christians always saying? Oh, well, they killed Christ, so they turned their back, and then God chose it. Hath God cast away his people? God forbid. For I am also an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Okay? Our brother Paul. All praises, right? So yeah, go ahead, click on that link, download the little picture of the map, get you some understanding, and then go back through, right? I posted the links in there. Study that series. We have a four-part series about the Acts of the Apostles. Get that understanding of the timelines and the proximity of where things were and so on and so forth in the book of Acts, and you will understand Paul better, and you will be able to cut these Christians with one blow. You ain't got to sit there and shank them 20 times like they did Chauvin. You just one time, and they'll be standing there with their head ready to fall off, and they don't even realize it's cut yet. Okay? That's how we do them. All right? Now, let's take it back a little bit. Okay, we went in a little bit close to the weeds. Let's go on back up to cruising altitude to wrap this thing up with. Because we're talking about the diaspora. We're talking about Jews as far as Asia Minor and Mesopotamia and into Africa and all over into Persia, right? Look, we need to go no further, right? No further than this book. Okay, what I'm going to go to first is Acts 2. Okay, we all know Acts 2. And I just mentioned the death, burial, and resurrection of Christ, right? And this is, if we go to Acts 1, let me share this real quick. If we go to Acts 1, okay, we know that Christ has given his final instruction to the 12 disciples. And he telling them, look, I gotta bounce. It's expedient in John, I believe it was in John 10. Okay. He was saying, hey, it's expedient that I go away. Because if I don't, John 10 is a more condensed story of what they're talking about in Acts 1, around 11. So it's expedient that I go away. Or Salakia, not it's John, the comforter is mentioned in John 16, around 27, and also John 14, like 7 and then 26, right? But in Acts 1 and 11, Christ is saying, look, I got to bounce. You see what I'm saying? And then, I'm going back up to the Father. But in the meantime, right, I want y'all to go back to Jerusalem, because right there, that's when the Holy Spirit is going to deal with you when you go back to Jerusalem. Okay. And so they obeyed, they listened, right? And right here it says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now, when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confused, because that every man had heard them speak in his own language. Okay, and we go down a little bit and let's listen to some of these. They like, aren't these niggas Galileans? Like, these are the hood niggas, man. They ain't never left LA County, bro. Some of them ain't never left South Central. How they speaking all these languages flawlessly? Okay, from where? The Parthians, the Medes, the Elamites, right? The Persians, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and Cappadocia, Pontus, and Asia. Okay, Phrygia, Pamphylia, and Egypt, parts of Libya, Cyrene, and Rome, right? All over, Cretes, Arabians, all through Saudi Arabia, man, all through the Levant. We hear them speaking our tongues and about the wonderful works of God. So these people were amazed, right? And let's look. You click on this little picture, right? Go back and read these scriptures and then look at some of these visuals, right? Phoenicia, Phrygia, right? Media, the Medes, which leads all the way into, Persia, right? Look at this. Mesopotamia, Cappadocia, Cyrene, okay? All in Egypt, of course, all throughout Arabia, right? So, Damascus is in Syria, Phoenicia, right? Antioch. Just go back, read the scripture, and then take note of the visuals. This gives you a good idea of the diaspora that we're talking about under the Greek captivity in particular, and then even broader once the Romans came into play, right? We're bordering the Greek and the Roman, right? Around the time of Paul, it was the Roman captivity, but it's pre-70 AD, right? So y'all can see it's like a power, it's a gradient of who's in power. It's not like a cutoff of captivities. A lot of these captivities have overlap, and there's like a gradient of power, right? Where one phase is out and the other one blends in. Okay. You see that with the Assyrian Babylonians, right? It wasn't like a severe drop off where one stopped in it's like a little overlap, because those cultures are so similar, right? And they even come out of Babylon going into the Medo-Persian captivity. There's a blend over, okay? And then from the Medo-Persians to the Greeks, and then from the Greeks to the Romans, like, right? So our diaspora kind of rode the wave of the captivities, and because the Greeks and the Romans set to conquer all of these different lands, and the Greeks were even more successful than the Romans, hence the diaspora spread. Okay. And then when that revised Roman Empire, that demon woke up out of a 1,000-year sentence in hell, out of the pits of Europe, they came out, and the four carpenters scattered us even more to the literal four corners of the earth, right? Yeah, so go through and peep game on these things. All right, so if you read Acts 2 and 5 and just match up to some of these names and start looking at the diaspora and see what we're talking about. And then if anyone dare to claim that our people are not referred to as Greeks or Grecians, and that anybody in the book that's talking about a Greek is a Greek, right? What do they like to go to? Galatians. They like to go to Galatians and say neither Jew nor Greek. Come on, man, that don't work around here. I'm gonna show y'all some game real quick. You know, I got to go into a little bit of vocabulary. I think that's my, you know, I guess that's like that's my calling card, right? That's my go-to. I like to go into a little bit of vocabulary. Okay, hold on one second. Let me go back. So lucky, I haven't been checking the chat. Let's see what we got. Tamayo. 1 Samuel 12:22. Indeed, for the sake of his great name, the Lord will not abandon his people, because he was pleased to make you his own. Of course, the Most High will never abandon us, right? As long as there's a heaven above and ground that we walk on, right? All praises. So yeah, let's go to Acts 6. And we're going to get our vocabulary lesson in for today. Acts 6. Okay. And in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration. Okay. You say, well, damn, Yazi, what's that got to do with anything? Okay. What's that got to do with anything? Well, who in the chat, right? And let's make this full screen so everybody can see. Who in the chat knows what law this is referring to? Okay, because I'm gonna give you a hint. It's not real ethnic Greeks, right, that are pissed off at the Hebrews because they're neglecting their widows. That wouldn't make no sense. Okay, the Grecians are actually Jews who had been outside of Jewry, living in areas outside of Jerusalem, speaking the language and doing the custom of the Greeks. But through the great works of these brothers that's out there being disciples and ministering to people, you got to imagine it's more Israelites coming back into the fold. And as they come back into the fold, of course, they want the rights to their constitutional rights, right? And our Constitution, our guiding light, is the Torah. Okay, so let me show you one thing first, and then, you know, I'm gonna see who can get the answer to the bonus question. Let's show you this vocabulary first. The word Grecians, and we went over this word earlier, and it should stick by now, right? It should stick by now because I've emphasized this word. Okay, the word for Grecians is G1675 in the Strong's Concordance. It's Hellenistes. I'll say that again. Hellenistes. Sound familiar? Hellenistic, Hellenistes. Okay. What does Hellenistes mean in biblical usage? A Hellenist. Okay. One who imitates the manners and customs or the worship of the Greeks and use the Greek tongue. Okay. Remember? Back to the PDF that was on page 287. Is a Jew from the mountainous regions and was a Greek not only in speech but also in spirit. That is a Hellenizing, right? Hellenizing Jew. This is this figure of a learned Hellenizing Jew, right? This is where this all comes from. Let's go back to that. Okay. And in particular, right, used in the New Testament of Jews born in foreign lands and speaking Greek. So now we go back and we get to understanding, these was the brothers that was born in foreign lands and speak Greek. They wasn't a part of Jewry, but these brothers was went out there and ministering to people, and thousands of people is coming back into the fold. A beautiful thing, right? But here go the trivia, or I say the bonus question. Right? All praises, Shimmy. Right? Hellenistic Jews. Okay. Hence the title, Salakia. Hence the title right here, right? Hellenistic civilization and the Jews. And it goes right into it, and Buddy is straight out. And this is where this Hellenizing Jew, where this term is coined, right? Because the Hellenistic period. Okay. All right, let's go back. Let's go back here. It was on Acts 6. Okay. And in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians, meaning a murmuring of the Hellenized Jews against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration. Salaki, I did not pull that up. Okay, right. All right. I already see one of my number one sharpshooters already done went and hit the bullseye. Okay. Done went and hit the bullseye. So we're gonna bring that up. Okay. All right. Bakar Malakawa. All right. And look, I ain't even bring it up yet, but before we get out of here, I'm gonna make sure y'all understand we got a new video drop on the WOLFPAC, the Sakari LBC WOLFPAC YouTube channel under the videos, right? Most of our stuff has been live recently. We've sparingly done videos, but Tawada to the brother Lakab Malakwa, right, for jumping in there and helping us, produce another video of some camp activity, right? All praises. I'm gonna give y'all the link. We'll do a little preview. I'll leave about 5 minutes a time, before we get the 1.5 hour mark. I'm gonna leave some time for we could preview that. Okay. But yeah, okay, this is according to the law, right? Exodus 22. Matter of fact, let me just bring it up over here. Bring up Exodus 22 and 22. Okay. Exodus 22 and 22. It reads, ye shall not afflict any, this is, mind you, Exodus, Torah. Okay. Ye shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If thou afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. Right? And my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. Okay. So look, we are supposed to take care of the widows and the fatherless children. Okay. We cannot afflict them in any way. And what was going on here in Acts 6 is that was part of the ministry. All the widows will be tended to, whether it was, issuing out food rations or issuing out, some kind of stipend for them to be able to keep a roof over their head and clothe their children. This was part of the daily ministration, right? You had to have brothers that administered these provisions, right? And so as the ministry grew, different brothers was given different jobs and so on and so forth. And we know that in this book, in chapter 6 in particular, right, we know that Stephen was given, given this job, right? Stephen, he was given this job of, ministering to the widows and the fatherless children. So all praises. And look, that just goes to show you, even though they were called Grecians, they spoke the Greek, right? They probably lived outside of Jerusalem, probably dressed according to Greek customs and the whole nine. They just look like straight foreigners. These brothers, Christ told these brothers, stop calling that unclean, which I have deemed clean. The Most High told that to Simon Peter, right? See what I'm saying? And in fact, you know, it's another nugget in Acts 10, right? Alophilos. I think we went over that in other classes, but I'm telling you, it's a hidden nugget in Acts 10, right? When they say another nation, the Greek word is alophilos. That's a compound word, allo and phile. Phile is nothing but another reference to the Jews, one of the 12 tribes in the New Testament, right? Descendant of the forefather of our forefather Jacob, right? Descendant of one of his 12 sons. Okay, so these are little nuggets, man, little nuggets of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? We gotta delve down to the basement, down to the foundations, in order to find some of these things. See what I'm saying? So let's see where we at here. Yeah, let's round it off. We're gonna round it off with Acts 11, and then I'll get a little bit into our new video drop. Okay, let's go to Acts 11. Salaki. Let's go to verse 20. Okay, we're gonna come back to the point, right? The church at Antioch. Okay, let's start. We might as well start at 19. It says, "Now they which were scattered abroad upon the persecution that arose about Stephen traveled as far as Phoenicia and Cyprus and Antioch, preaching the word to none but unto the Jews only." Okay, so all this Gentile nonsense and they're from Phoenicia, they're Phoenician, or they from Cyprus, they're Greeks. Antioch, right? None but unto the Jews only. And look, y'all got to go back, study the series. If you haven't, I know most of y'all brothers know for sure a good timeline of what happened in Acts. We know what happened. We know how Stephen was persecuted, right? We know they hated on that brother. But the word got out. Why? Because brothers was going all over the known world, right? And what were they doing? What brothers was telling us we needed to do way back in Tobit, which, like I said, was 3rd, almost 4th century BC when this book was compiled. It said, "Confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he has scattered us among them." That's what's going on here. These brothers is going out and confessing, right? And preaching the word to none but unto the Jews only. No different than what Paul was doing. Okay, going amongst the Gentiles, finding his people, right? And some of them were men of Cyprus and Cyrene, which when they were come to Antioch, spake unto the Grecians, right? Preaching the Lord Yahweh Shai, right? And there we go, that word Grecians again, Hellenistes. Okay, so that should be plenty of fodder, right? In particular, like I said, go to the slideshow, click on this image. It's got a nice little legend right here, right? Green is area with substantial Jewish population. The red is the border of the Greek world, circa 300 BC, right? Roots of the dispersion, right? Look, and we're going all the way from 722 BC to 300 BC. See what I'm saying? And all of these are Jewish communities. Okay, so just go check it out. And you're going to see words: Cappadocia, Mesopotamia, Persia, and Media, the Chaldees, right? Babylon, the Euphrates, right? You see all these landmarks. Arabia, Damascus, of course, Jerusalem, right? Egypt, Cyrene, Crete, Sparta, Athens, right? Macedonia, Phrygia. You're gonna notice all of these names. Okay. You're gonna start noticing things and it's gonna become familiar with you. And then when you can put that and line that up with a physical location and understand who lived there at that time and how things change over time, it's a beautiful thing, right? So look, with that, I want to ask, right. You see, Zion? You got that breakdown, right? All praises. You feel me? You feel me? Okay. So with that, man, I wanted to kind of put a pin in it there because there's so much I can go into, but I wanted to really encapsulate it around kind of what Paul was doing and then into his pilgrimage and his missions all over the place, starting with Antioch, ending in Rome. Talk about the diaspora, right? Which primarily I started with the Greek captivity, but it bleeds over into the Roman captivity, right? They're almost indistinguishable, other than this Edomite on Edomite violence, and one and the same, right? But understanding what Grecians are, and Paul can call himself a Roman, and he can be born in Turkey, right? Cilicia, but he's still an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin. You feel me? Don't matter where you plant an apple seed, that tree gonna still yield apples. You understand? And that's a fact. Okay. So I'm gonna give a minute or two for any of the brothers that got questions, comments. If I missed something, right? If I missed something that y'all want to go over, let me know right now. I'm gonna queue up the video and give y'all a little sneak preview. Okay. A little sneak preview. And look, same thing. Let's get this thing out there. Okay. Y'all go out there, like, share, comment, right? Do all that. Do all that. Okay. Super thing. Do what it do. You feel me? Make it do what it do. And if it's on your heart and you feel like supporting the ministry, you can always peep it out. Cash App is always there, right? On the little scroll behind on the bottom. Couch Captivity created Cash App, $ Bazak, right? $ BAZAQ. That's the Long Beach Cash App, the WOLFPAC Cash App. Okay. All right. No worries, Shimmy. No worries. We're going to get into that. All right. As a matter of fact, yeah, we got something coming up real quick, group wise. You see what I'm saying? Because Shimmy, you know how we did a little preliminary practice. Now we're going to start working at exercises of just reading as a group, period. You know what I'm saying? And doing a little more studying together. Okay. But look, let's get into this, right? Let me open up a new window here. Okay. Like I said, all praises. The water to damn. Salaki. I'm doing way too much over here. Hold on. That's what we want to do. Okay. Go back. Check the volume. All right. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to show you a little sneak peek of what we got going with our latest camp video. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, once again, all praises, the water to the soldier, Lakar Malakwa. Really, really helping with that. Edit the video together and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's been a minute since we put a camp video up. It's been months. We got a gang of classes up, but camp videos, it's been sparingly. Just brother's been understaffed, to put it for lack of a better term. But we getting it done, family, because at the end of the day, we got to get this word out. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play a couple minutes of this and let it ride out. Look, and mainly, what I'm saying, go back to that throwback, that old school, that intro, right? There you go. Throw up a 2 if it don't sound high enough. Right. Yeah, this is a hit right here, Zay. To my alliance, I pledge allegiance to Yahweh and my riders. The ones that do the work and cut like Michael Myers. Let off, reload the magazine and fire. It's wartime, run down the fire. Gangsta, I read my Bible every night. Lord walk with me, he back to back in every fight. I pledge allegiance to my alliance, the Israelites. 144,000 saints ready to lose their life. Stripes with gang tap from the streets with gang tap. Secor with the squad, we got that fire, I bang that. Thugging with HS, congregation, no hesitation for participation. We swing this sword and heed the nation. To my alliance, I pledge allegiance to Yahweh and my riders. The ones that do the work and cut like Michael Myers. Generation, because guess what? My generation grew up believing in LA. That we was enemies. That blacks and Latinos was enemies. And you know where that mentality came from? From the prison system. You see what I'm saying? You just said it earlier. Our people live next to each other. We act the same. Our kids go to the same school. We indistinguishable when it comes to family and parties. How we can have 5 generations at the party, everybody dancing. From Abuelita on down to the youngest baby, right? We love good food, sipping on a little something, having fun with each other, right? We value that innately. That lets you know our cultures are so similar from the top of North America down to the bottom. And the things that we go through are so similar. Like with the so-called Negroes in America, there was chattel slavery, right? But did you know, let me, before I assume, are you Mexican? Yes. Okay. Did you know, have you ever heard of Hernan Cortez? Not personally. Okay. Look up Hernan Cortez. He's like the Christopher Columbus of the Spaniard Navy that came and plundered Mexico. You see what I'm saying? There's a city in Mexico called Izúcar de Matamoros. It's near Miami, right? It's near Mexico City. It's near Mexico City, right? Izúcar de Matamoros. You see what I'm saying? This is where Hernan Cortez, the tribe of Issachar, set up camp there. It's in the Bible according to scripture. The tribe of Issachar comes to this land, sets up camp there because they found that it was right? And then guess 2,700 years later, right? Because according to the Apocrypha, we know that Northern Kingdom left Israel around 7th century BC. And came to what the land is called Arsarid. If you study your history, you study Christopher Columbus, Hernan Cortez, and all these Italian and Spanish and so on and so forth, explorers, conquistadors, right? Conquerors is a better word, right? They knew about this land called Arsarid. You watch the movie 1492. Christopher Columbus takes Hebrew interpreters with him to come to this land. Hernan Cortez, same thing. Christopher. Right. So look, that's a brief preview, right? But y'all go check it out. Okay. These little young Issacharite brothers, man, they was attentive. They felt edified. They was thankful and glad to hear that word. And we was glad to be able to edify those brothers, man. We was that was a while back, man. That was actually last summer. Yeah. July, I guess. Last summer, we was at the BET Awards. Yeah. And some little Issacharite brothers came by and, we had some good exchanges. You feel me? Had some good exchanges. But yeah, All right. So look, peep game. Go back. We back on that street video, that street camp video game. Strong. We're gonna come back in and start, you know what I'm saying, King Kong and them dropping more street videos, right? Because you know, some brothers have stepped up and have started helping out in different offices and so on and so forth. And ironically, right, just like we just read in Acts 6, you know, brothers start going out and doing the work, and then there becomes more work. Brothers, you know what I'm saying? People like, yo, where the videos at? What's up? Whoop whoop, man, when you're gonna drop it? So now we got some new brothers. The Most High bless us with some new brothers to come in and help issue out some of this work. You feel me? So all praises. Y'all go check that video out. Like it, subscribe, share it, subscribe if you hadn't. Comment on it, right? Super chat, super sticker, right? Or if it's on your heart, cash out, $Bazak. You know what I'm saying? Help the ministry so we can continue to go out there, spread this word, and feed the sheep, man. We got to go out and feed the flock because our people got to get this bread. We got to get this understanding. We got to come together as a nation and understand that you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous people of the Americas, you are God's chosen people. You are the Israelites according to the Bible, and to whom much is given, much is expected. We got to come back to these law, statutes, commandments of the Most High God, do the will of the Father, and have faith in the Most High God and faith in his Son, our Savior, our Messiah, Yahushua HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, right? And with that, I want to give call Halal Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua HaMashiach, and Kwam Yashrala.